A city as big as Copenhagen is constantly involved in various building projects, so it makes sense that it also had its own architecture department. And this is led by the so-called city architects. This video is about one of those, Poul Holsøe, who had the position from 1925 to 1943. His first buildings was in his native Elsinore, which is outside the scope of this video. But when he did arrive in Copenhagen, he did so with a major undertaking. Together with Jesper Thude, he designed Grønlandsvænge Garden Association, which despite its name is not a market garden, but instead more than 300 houses, either detached or semi-detached, that took more than 10 years to complete. Another early example of his works in Copenhagen was the banking building that unfortunately was behind the scaffolding when I came by. As the city grew, the demand for residential buildings also grew. Now that would usually be left for private investors, but when it happened to be on public lands, the city had to get involved. One such area was the Meadows Park, which had to be redeveloped in order to create space for the new buildings. This he did together with the gardener Fabricius Hansen. The park has been redeveloped several times since, and the bandstand has effectively been cordoned off. The reasoning behind the refurbishing of the park was this big block of flats which he designed together with Ib Lunding. The balconies are not original. At the other side of the park, he was behind another building that was more in line with what you usually associate with the city council. This is a building used for various cultural institutions and associations, and it's called a culture house. Further down Enghavevej, he designed the fire station for Vesterbro together with Emil Engel, whom he was to work again with in one of the many iterations of design of the town hall square. Needless to say, it was not the lasting one, and it has been changed considerably since. With the expansion of the city, you also needed new schools, and Holsøe designed his first, Bavnehøj, just behind the fire station. It was not to be his last. A few years later, he designed Grundtvig's school in a more international functionalism. It has since changed the name to Tagensbo. And an emblem which he designed together with FC Lund. They became innovative in separating the school into two buildings, one for the small classes and one for the big classes. This school has also changed the name and is now called Lundehus. Just like the city took care of its young, it also took care of its old, and Holsøe designed several residential blocks for the elderly. The first one was Guldbergs Have, then followed Sundparken, and note the very discreet ornaments that is a duplicate from Guldbergs Have. And finally the massive Valbyholm, which he designed together with Viggo S. Jørgensen. The city also needed buildings for their own administration, and one of them was built for the tax department, though they have since moved out. It would be a bit of a stretch to say he actually designed the central meat market. He was more in a supervising role. The meat market is still used for various industries connected to the meat industry. Maybe he should be remembered more as an administrator than an innovator, but when you sit more than 20 years on the top position in the architecture department, you will make a mark on the city.